Alright, getting into the men's light welterweight division for the Olympics. 64 kilograms, or about 141 pounds. We had Fazliddin Gaibnazarov of Uzbekistan bringing home another gold back to Uzbekistan with a really impressive victory over Lorenzo Sotomayor of Azerbaijan, who takes home a silver. Um, Originally, Lorenzo Sotomayor was from Cuba, managed to defect out of Cuba because they don't allow their fighters to turn pro. Went to Azerbaijan to try and get some money, bringing glory to Azerbaijan. That's one of the countries that really pays heavily for fighters looking to defect and/or immigrate. And he was definitely one of those guys. Wasn't quite able to make his mark on the gold medal match, however. He did do very well, though. It was a close fight. It was a split decision win for Gaibnazarov. I thought it was a deserved win for Gaibnazarov. Good fight. I thought that Lorenzo Sotomayor gave away just a little bit too much of his height. He was about 3 or 4 inches taller than Gaibnazarov. Definitely had a longer reach. Gaibnazarov is a very good, very skilled, very quick opponent. However, he really impressed me when he defeated Gary Antoine Russell in the quarterfinals by split decision, incidentally as well. Matter of fact, I think he might have won all of his fights by split decision. He's a guy that he lets him get close, but he's a hell of a fighter in spite of that. Defeated Lorenzo Sotomayor, was able to get on the inside, negate the height and the reach advantage of Sotomayor, was able to box well at mid-range, land good power shots. He almost used Sotomayor's height against him. He was able to almost do like a Sergio Martinez did versus Paul Williams, where it's like he was launching that, it's like he would almost like feint with the right hand, launch the overhand left, over the top and clip Sotomayor cleanly for a clean score and blow. Sotomayor had a really good 1-2, a really solid 1-2 that he was landing consistently, but the problem is he wasn't quite varying up his punches enough. I thought Gaibnazarov's punch variety, his punch selection was superior, and that's what, incidentally, I thought led him to a victory here. He was able to actually stun Sotomayor a couple of times. It was a couple of moments, especially I think it was at the end of the first or the second round, where Sotomayor looked a little bit hurt. He looked a little bit stunned off of one of the overhand lefts that Fazliddin Gaibnazarov was able to land on him. The overhand left and the right hook was working like a charm. Sotomayor unfortunately wasn't quite using his height and reach to his advantage. It may be possible that, considering how tall he is, that making the weight so for so many days in a row and having as many fights as he's had may have worn down on him. But that's taking nothing away from Gaibnazarov. Nobody else, in my opinion, was even competitive against Sotomayor. He was a fighter that dominated every opponent he came across, which was a very impressive collection of fighters that he fought against to make his way there. He defeated Vladimir Matveychuk of Ukraine in the first round of 32, defeated Hassan Amzile of France in the round of 16 by split decision, defeated Yasnier Toledo of Cuba, his old countryman, his old teammate, in the quarterfinals. He absolutely dominated him with a unanimous decision, defeated Artem Harutinin of Germany, sending Harutinin home with a bronze, and then finally came a cropper against Fazliddin Gaibnazarov of Uzbekistan, who wins the gold medal. Sotomayor, of course, takes home the silver to Azerbaijan, and then let's see, Fazliddin Gaibnazarov. How did he get here? Well, Gaibnazarov managed to defeat in his very first fight. Let me get to it. Dival Malonga Dismalu of the Congo by TKO. One of the few guys to get a TKO in these Olympics, get a knockout. Defeated Manoj Kumar of India in the round of 16 by unanimous decision. Defeated Gary Antoine Russell of the United States of America with a split decision. Then defeated Vitaly Denaitsev of Russia, sending him home with a bronze by way of split decision. And then finally, of course, defeating Lorenzo Sotomayor of Azerbaijan and taking home the gold back to Uzbekistan. Just an impressive fight. An impressive fighter, impressive fights all the way around. I think it's entirely possible both these guys turn pro. Uzbekistan pays highly for the amateurs to bring back medals, but I could very easily see, considering the fact that Duzmatov has already turned pro, I think that that's one of the other gold medalists for Uzbekistan, light flyweight. I think that Zoirov is likely to turn pro because Duzmatov did, and he's a flyweight gold medalist for Uzbekistan. For Gaibnazarov, I could very easily see him turning pro as well because he's actually even at a higher weight class than those two. at light welterweight, a weight class where there's definitely more money for him in the pro ranks than potentially in the amateurs. You know, it's like he'd probably have to wait a year or two, and maybe there's only three major titles that he could potentially make good money for bringing home the gold for Uzbekistan. Plus, you know, there may be a new crop of Uzbekis that are looking to represent their country on the come up as well. Lorenzo Sotomayor, I think, considering the fact that he didn't quite make the gold medal for Azerbaijan, I could very easily see him turning pro, and I could potentially see him being a hell of a fighter at light welterweight or welterweight as a professional. He's a very good boxer, a good fighter, a solid fighter, and I mean, I do have some minor questions about his chin, however, because I did think that he was stunned by Gaibnazarov a couple of times, but who knows? Maybe Gaibnazarov is just that type of dynamic, explosive puncher. After all, he did knock out his very first opponent in these Olympics, so that has to be taken into account for as well. Artem Harutinen of Germany, I could see turning pro. The German pro boxing scene has kind of died down largely last couple of years. A lot of their like long-standing champions have kind of aged themselves out of contention by and large. So I could see him being part of a new generation of top stars for German boxing, the German boxing scene. Vitaly Denaitsev, for him it's a 50-50 thing. You know, Russia pays heavily for the amateurs to bring home medals, so who knows if he may be back for 2020. Gary Antoine Russell is definitely going to be somebody to look forward to in the pro ranks for the United States of America, a guy that I thought pretty highly of. He fights not necessarily like his brother, Gary Russell Jr. I think he's a little bit more offensive, he's a little bit more aggressive, has more of a power punching style. He breaks you down to the body, can break you down to the head. His hands are not fragile the way that Gary Russell Jr.'s are, so he sits down on his punches a bit more. I think he's an exciting fighter, either at light welterweight or lightweight, so depending on which weight class he decides to turn pro at. And then beyond him, let me see, was there any other guys at the light welterweight division that I think will turn out to be a really solid pro? You know, those are pretty much the main guys, to be honest. I mean, we could see a couple other guys that may be some dark horses in the pro game. Maybe Qianchun Hu of China, who did a solid job. Also, with Chai Masuk of Thailand, who was a pretty good fighter going into it, that Gary Antoine Russell managed to upset. Richardson Hitchens of Haiti is actually a U.S. fighter, so he's going to be another guy that's likely to turn pro immediately after the Olympics. He's the guy that Gary Antoine Russell defeated in the very first round of this competition. And Richardson Hitchens was really one of the top U.S. amateurs as well. He only fought for Haiti because of the fact that he wasn't able to make the American team for whatever reason. But I think his dad is Haitian, so he managed to qualify for their team instead. But overall, solid light welterweight class, and just a couple of the better fights of the division. I mean, that final was really an excellent final between Gaibnazarov and Sotomayor. I had been picking Sotomayor going into it, and I was really surprised and impressed with Gaibnazarov in the way that he was actually able to prove me wrong and take a gold medal back to Uzbekistan. I think that makes 3 gold medals for Uzbekistan out of the whole Olympics. So that's solid job for the country of Uzbekistan, and a solid job for Gaibnazarov for doing it big for them. And I think him as well as the others are going to be pretty interesting pros. You know, these are a bit more of the high publicity divisions right here around light welterweight, lightweight, light welterweight, and welterweight. So I'm sure these guys will probably get some pretty good coverage as soon as they turn pro and once they get into the contender ranks. So to sum up again, Artem Harutinen of Germany takes home a bronze. Vitaly Denaitsev of Russia takes home a bronze. Lorenzo Sotomayor of Azerbaijan takes home a silver, and Fazliddin Gaibnazarov of Uzbekistan takes home the gold. That's going to be it for my coverage of the light welterweight division for the Rio Olympics in 2016. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.